Hi, welcome back to Low Carb Abode. I'm Ludmilla, and today I'm going to show you how you can make your own homemade keto blueberry jam and how to preserve it. But before we get started, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to see more of my recipe videos. Yes, you can really make and can low carb jam, and my goal is that at the end of this video, you will feel confident enough to give this a try. I will give you all the tricks and tips I have so you can make your own keto blueberry jam. So let's get cooking. The first thing I want to do today is to just quickly go over my canning tools. So this is my canner. It's basically just a large pot with a rack inside of it, and that prevents the jars from touching the bottom. I also use a funnel, and that makes it really easy to pour in your jam without making a huge mess. And then I have a jar lifter, which makes it really easy to lift the jars out of your canner once you're done processing them. I know there are other canning tools available, but these are the only ones that I need. So now let's talk about the jars. Today I'm not expecting to make more than 10 cups of jam, and that's why I have 10 8-ounce glass jars here. And these are canning jars. And you want to make sure to use canning jars and not just regular jars, as they may break during processing. I also have 10 lids here and 10 bands. And basically what we'll do is once we fill this up, we're going to put our lid on top and then screw the band down. You can reuse your jars, and I've actually reused those several times. I washed them today in hot soapy water. You can also reuse your bands, but you always want to make sure to use new lids, as otherwise the jars may not seal correctly. And I also washed my lids today in soapy hot water. Yes, you heard correctly. I only washed my jars and my lids. I did not sterilize them. And this may come as a surprise to some of you who have canned before, because you always read, oh, we have to sterilize the jars and the lids. But I can simply skip the step of sterilizing my equipment because I will sterilize while processing my jars in the canner. As long as you process your 8-ounce jars for 10 or more minutes, they will get sterilized. So you can skip that step of sterilizing your jars and sterilizing your lids. Perfect.
Now let's talk about the ingredients. First of all, we need plenty of blueberries, obviously. And I have 4 pounds here. To make blueberry jam, you will need to add a little bit of lemon juice, and you need to use the bottled lemon juice, not the fresh lemon juice. So for my recipe, I'm using a low-carb sweetener, and I found that erythritol works really well. It makes this jam taste just like regular high-sugar jam. And because we heat the erythritol with so many fruits and water, it actually dissolves really well too, and it does not leave your jam grainy if that's what you're worried about. So could you substitute this with another sweetener? Yes, as long as you still use the same amount of sweetener that I'm using. Because for this recipe, it's important that we keep the volume about the same. So if you would just add, a few stevia drops or maybe no sugar at all, you cannot use this exact recipe. And the reason why it's so important to keep the same volume is because you want your pectin to work. Pectin is the soluble fiber that turns into a gel and thickens your jam. And it usually is activated by sugar. But for this low sugar pectin, we don't actually need to add sugar for the thickening process to work. I've only tried to make my keto jam with the Ball real fruit, low or no sugar needed pectin. So one thing you may be worried about if you check out the ingredient list on this pectin, it says dextrose. And you may know that dextrose is a certain type of sugar, but the amount here is so low that it will hardly affect our jam. Let's take a look. A 1/4 teaspoon of this pectin has just about 0 grams of carbs. It's probably a little more than 0.0 grams, but it's still very, very low. Now we went through the equipment and through the ingredients. Let's finally actually start making our jam, right? We're going to start with heating our pot of blueberries, and I have 4 pounds of fresh blueberries here. I'm going to let them heat up over medium heat, stir, and then I'm going to mash them up. Okay guys, I actually moved back to my stove here because my little stove top is not strong enough to handle all of this fruit. And as you can see, I'm just smashing it along. No need to hurry, take your time. All right, this is looking really good now. It's mostly thick sauce now with just a few whole berries left. That's what I want. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add my lemon juice. I need 9 teaspoons of lemon juice. I believe those are 3 tablespoons. Because I think each tablespoon has 3 teaspoons of lemon juice. Okay, and I also need 1 cup of water. Now let's stir this up, and we are ready to gradually add our pectin. We only need 4.5 teaspoons of pectin, and I'm just going to add them 1 tablespoon at a time and stir it in to prevent it from clumping together. I'm also going to turn up my heat to high. So before we can add our sweetener, we actually have to bring this mixture to a full rolling boil. And a full rolling boil is one that cannot be stirred down. So let's do that. Just going to turn it down a tiny bit because I don't want it to overboil. Again, stir very slowly. And if you see that it's overboiling, make sure to either turn it down or take it from the flame. Okay. Okay, as you can see, I'm stirring it now, and the boil is continuing, so that's what we want. So now I'm going to turn it down all the way because it's about to overboil here. Okay. Now we're ready for the erythritol, and I'm just going to pour it in. I have 1.5 cups. I just added 1.5 cups of granular erythritol, and now we need to bring this mixture again to full rolling boil, and the boil needs to last for 1 minute. So let's turn up the heat again and keep stirring slowly and wait for the boil to appear. All right, it's beginning to boil again. And I want to bring it to a hard boil. And now I'm going to start my timer for 1 minute. And it's really important that you let it boil for 1 minute, otherwise your pectin may not be activated. All right, that's it. 1 minute is over. Let's turn off the heat. And this, my friends, is our jam. Now, as you can see, I have this foam on top, which you could prevent, by the way, by just adding some butter. But I actually really like this foam. And instead of adding butter to prevent it, I'm just scraping it off, and I'm going to eat it later. Doesn't the foam look so delicious? I think it's my favorite part of making jam. All right, I'm going to put this in the fridge and eat it later.
Okay, I got my workstation ready here to fill up my glass jars, and then we just need to process the jars and our jam is done. So I'm using my funnel here, and I'm just going to pour it into each jar and leave a head space of about 1/4 inch. You could buy one of those canning rulers so you can make sure it's exactly 1/4 inch, or you could just use a regular ruler. Now make sure that you do fill up the jars all the way to that 1/4 inch head space. If at the end of filling this up you only have enough jam left to fill up half a jar, don't process this last jar. Just place it in the fridge and eat it fresh, because it may not process right when it's only half full. Yeah, so I got exactly 9 jars of jam. Before I'm going to place the lids on top, I'm just going to use a slightly wet paper towel and clean the rims here, because you don't want there to be any jam between the jars and your lids. Otherwise, it may not vacuum seal. Alright, I'm going to place the lids on top. And again, don't be worried if your lids are not sterilized. We're going to sterilize everything because we will process all of these jars in the canner for 10 minutes. And now your bands. Now you just want to screw on your bands fingertip tight, and this will allow some of that steam still to escape. So don't worry about them being slightly loose. Just fingertip tight. Okay, now I'm going to place my jars into my canner. I'm going to add more water because the jars need to be covered by about 2 inches of water. Place the lid on top, turn the heat on high, and now I'm going to process my first batch of jars. You will wait until the water comes to a boil, then turn on your timer for 10 minutes. The amount of processing time can vary depending on your altitude, but I will add all that information in the printable recipe. Okay, I just processed my second batch, and I want to show you how I remove the jars with my jar lifter. So obviously the jars are super hot, so I'm just going to pull them out this way. You want to take them straight out. I know there is some water on top of the lid, and you may feel like you want to wipe away that water or touch the lid, but don't touch the lid. You don't want to touch these jars at all now. Even if there's water on top, just let it evaporate. Don't press the lids, otherwise you won't know if the seal actually occurred. Just let them stand for about 12 hours until they're completely cooled down, and then you can press on top of these lids and see if they are sealed. If the bump on top of the lid is still up after 12 hours, it means the seal did not occur. Then you can just try to reseal them again by processing them again, or you could just put that jar in the fridge and eat it. So I'm just going to let my jar stand there until tomorrow, and then I'll check the seal. And what I will do then, I will show you on the jam I made yesterday. So this is also blueberry jam, and after the jar has cooled down, I would press the top, and if I cannot press it down, it means the seal occurred. Then I would unscrew this, and you may find some moisture around the band and also around your rim here. And what I always do is just dry this up well with a paper towel or a kitchen towel, and removing that moisture that's on your band will prevent that metal band from rusting. So the seal is pretty good here. I have strong fingernails, so I can open it like that, but you may want to use a jar opener. There we go. And this is our jam. And it thickened perfectly. It's just the perfect consistency to spread on your bread or enjoy on your ice cream. And usually I would eat it on my keto rustic bread, but I didn't make a loaf, so I will eat it the way my dad does, which is just by the spoonful. It's simply delicious. It tastes just like jam should. Great consistency, very sweet and fruity. It tastes fresh, so much better and healthier than any of the store-bought jam. You can enjoy this on a low-carb lifestyle. Making and preserving jam takes a few steps, but they're really very simple. I hope I answered all your canning questions in this video. If you do have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them. And this is it for today. As always, I will add the link to the full printable recipe in the description below so you can follow the instructions step by step to make your own homemade low-carb jam. I will talk to you soon. Bye.